everybody.
Hey, hey,
Welcome to a special little episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
and me, DB Fastbinder. And you know what? They told me I'd never use that archaeology degree, but here we go, because we're recording history as we speak,
Yes. Uh,
excavating from the ruins of the streaming wars.
Indeed, yes. We're actually recording this on a Tuesday, and you'll more than likely be watching this on a Wednesday. But on Sunday, uh, DB sent me an article talking about how uh, Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies, which is a prequel to the movie Grease with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, was not only being canceled by Paramount Plus, but that it was being yeeted from the service altogether.
Yes, this is one where basically I didn't realize that they could do this, which is interesting. Last year, it's funny. Warner Brothers always gets crap for things that other people then do a year later.
Yeah.
In their comic book division decided to move to Lunar distribution, and another one that fell through. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're monsters!" And then, not long after, Disney moves over out of Diamond into Penguin Random House.
Yeah.
Last year, Warner Brothers canceled a bunch of stuff that was in various stages of production, including a Scooby Doo animated movie and infamously the Batgirl movie that still had a bunch of work left to do on it,
hmm
and everybody called them monsters. And now Disney and Paramount are pulling things that not only came out but came out in their entirety for tax purposes.
Yes. Yeah.
This one in particular, I was curious about because it seems like such a misguided idea to greenlight.
Yeah, and it's kind of a bit of a head scratcher because I mean, I know Grease was a very popular musical or popular movie when it came out.
Hmm.
It's been adapted on Broadway and other stage stuff. I know high schools do productions of it.
Yep.
Uh, but it seemed a little odd to do a prequel series about one group of girls from that movie.
And the minor characters at that.
Yeah,
Like just spitballing here, if you're going to do a prequel, you could have done it could have been called, I don't know, Summer Nights, where you have Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta's characters meeting before they come back into the regular school year.
right.
Like that might be a prequel that would be slightly more interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and probably and more relatable to the fans of the movie. You know,
Right, because I've seen the movie twice, maybe three times in my lifetime. I might have seen a stage production of it at some point. My memory's fuzzy on that.
mm.
But if you put a gun to my head and said, if you if you can't name one of the pink ladies from the movie Grease,
Yeah,
uh, eh, the president will be shot. It would not be a good time.
no, yeah, same here. I mean, I've only seen I've never actually seen Grease all the way through. I've only seen bits and pieces of it. I've seen the ending, so it kind of
Yeah.
so it kind of ruins me for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, so Olivia Newton-John does become a slattern in the end, yes.
Yeah, yes.
But so that's already got that kind of working against it.
Yeah.
Uh, in fact, this is one case where I would almost say, why didn't you do the obvious thing and do a remake of Grease itself? Because it's been
Mm.
long enough that you could have probably gotten away with it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been at least 40 years, I think. 40,
Yeah, what was Grease, a 70s or an 80s movie?
I want to say early 80s. Like
Let's
80 or
find out.
80 or
1978.
1978. Okay.
So 35 years.
Yeah.
So you could have, it's enough time has passed that you could have gotten away with it. but this feels like what I'm going to call a boardroom thing, where you're a studio, you have a bunch of IP, and you're trying to develop your streaming service. You're going to have some original stuff in there, like the Tulsa King,
Hmm.
uh, or oh, we'll do a new season of Beavis and Butthead, and then you go, okay, well, we need to fill out some more of the service and cover other markets. Um, Something with Grease. Well, we don't want to, we want to make something that where we have some new songs we can sell. Prequel about the Pink Ladies.
It's very odd, and I guess they couldn't think of another Star Trek show to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some of those are getting pulled too.
Yeah, the one of the animated shows was getting pulled.
Prodigy.
Prodigy, yeah,
Which,
yeah,
if you're a Voyager fan, is a little bit of a shame because it's probably the last time that Kate Mulgrew is going to play Janeway.
yeah. But I'm
Uh,
not shedding any tears.
no, no. Uh,
Yeah,
now, as far as the actual show itself, the weird thing is that so with that big stumbling block out of the way,
yeah.
this could have been better off if it had actually just been its own thing,
Hmm.
because it kind of feels like it's constrained by a style that they're trying to work in. Where they
Yeah,
might have, if they'd been able to like just pursue their own muse, they might have been able to have some more creative freedom.
yeah. I think so too. Yeah, and of course, we only watched the first episode, so it's
Right, because
yeah,
it's a matter of curiosity. So
yeah.
maybe it's amazing, but I read the episode summaries, and it doesn't look like it changes a whole lot from what they set up in the first episode.
Ugh. Yeah. So I guess we should talk about the episode.
Yes, right. We've been putting it off a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is about, again, the rise of the Pink Ladies, who in the original Grease were basically the female pseudo greasers to the opposite number of the actual like hot rodders from the
Right.
movie, like the male hot rodders.
Yeah.
Um, they Part of the reason this is such a weird concept to adapt is, again, I've seen Grease multiple times in my lifetime. Um, I kind of went, oh right, the Pink Ladies, the ones who are in the least interesting part of the show.
Yeah, it's a bit like giving giving an entire TV show to like okay, I'll go Star Trek. So if you're playing the critique corner drinking game, take a shot because I'm mentioning Star Trek. Giving a TV show to Morn, the barfly from DS9. It's like why?
Well, we have to know why he is a barfly now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and why? And why? Well, apparently he did talk, but we never heard him talk. But anyway, yeah,
Yep. So we've got four main characters.
yeah.
We've got Jane, the half Puerto Rican, half Italian, who's running. They make a point of that, and so it's.
It's
I'm,
her parents are Tony and Maria from from West Side Story.
yeah, in fact, we were almost saying, wait, why wasn't this just a sequel or a prequel to West Side Story?
Yeah,
It's the alternate universe where it wasn't Romeo and Juliet,
yeah,
which brings up an aspect of 50s life that we'll get into in a minute.
yes,
She's planning to run for the school council, class president, and she's organizing this pep rally that's going to be amazing, and that's going to be what puts her over the top.
yes. And during the summer, she had a fling with I guess like the most popular guy at school,
I believe that was Buddy,
Buddy. Yeah, um, yeah,
and they got a little hot and heavy from the looks of it, second base or so. and they
Yeah.
were caught, and the rumors flew heavy.
Yes, that yeah, the rumor started to fly that Jane can go all the way, as they would say in the 50s.
Yes. Uh, uh, Next main character is Olivia, who is, I believe that she's also Latina, and they just moved in from somewhere else. Was it Puerto Rico
Oh, I don't remember. Probably Puerto Rico. Yeah.
or or like no, wait, no, that's right. They didn't just move in. It felt like she was starting over because last year there was an incident where did the teacher like touch her, or was it like there were rumors that she was too close to the teacher?
I think there were rumors that yeah, that she and the teacher were a little too friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, and so everyone was isolating her. So she showed up, uh, dressed in clothes that were meant to be shocking in the context of the show, but were just very tame by modern standards.
Yes.
Um, then you've got Cynthia, who is the perky lesbian. Um, and you almost feel sorry for the one guy from the Greasers who is obviously crushing on her.
Yeah. you know, I don't know if I should say this, but the guy from that guy kind of reminded me of a fat Steven Crowder.
Oh, well, I won't try to change your mind on that one.
Uh,
I
Ew.
But in the early part, in the first scene, he lets her wear his jacket because she's cold, and she clearly is not interested in him. She's interested in having the jacket and being a full member of their group.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, because of course the whole caveat with that was they don't allow girls in their group.
Yeah. Now, what I know from outside information that, or at least it sounds like the character is meant to actually be trans, which is an interesting choice for you know this era.
Yeah.
The other funny thing
'Cause-
is that it reminded me that a friend of mine from high school and beyond, who I haven't actually talked to in a while, um, had very similar styles and mannerisms to this girl. Was not actually gay, so apparently that's a stereotype.
Yeah. And it also kind of goes to show that the people working on that show equate being a tomboy with being a lesbian.
Yes, but
Yeah.
now I suppose in the first episode they don't necessarily spell it out, but I think it's
It-
obvious from the context clues of the show.
yeah. It's heavily implied. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got Nancy, who is probably the least developed of the Pink Ladies in the first episode. Her whole thing is she she's there's this group of Asian girls who are all, they're all going to go and be fashion designers, and then the other two discover boys and leave her behind.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, like you're saying, there's not a whole lot to her. At least they don't show a whole lot to her. I mean,
Right. Now, only seeing the first episode,
yeah,
hopefully she got some focus, but
yeah,
as a first impression, it's like, okay, she's kind of there because there was a fourth Pink Lady in the original.
yes, and and you kind of pointed this out when we were watching it, because we were messaging each other back and forth as we were watching it. She's like the most ambitious girl of the of the group.
Yeah, like she has a career path, so- and it's also strange that you can be in fashion and date boys,
Yeah,
but it's treated like her ambition is almost childish somehow, which is just bizarre.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, Uh, so you have the whole thing with oh god, what is her name again?
You're probably going back to Jane, right?
Jane. Yes, Jane. So the rumors start spreading about Jane, and she tries to squash the rumors, but then Olivia tells her, "Yeah, once once that cat's out of the bag, you're not going to put it back in."
Right. No, it's the Scarlet Letter.
Yes, and so then there's this whole musical number in their home ec class.
Oh,
Um,
to go back earlier,
oh,
the,
right,
the
right,
the
okay,
the musical number in her room where you meet her parents.
right, yeah,
Uh, One thing I will say is that the musical numbers were shot strangely at times.
yeah,
Like I got the impression, I don't know this, but I got the impression that the director hadn't really done this sort of production before. Because there was like choreography where Jane jumped up on the bed and was dancing, but you didn't really get to see it because of how the camera was panning around.
yeah. Well, and also too, their rendition of "Grease is the word" was.
It's the typical thing that they do where they take a. Actually, no, it wasn't. Grease is the word was never a poppy, happy song, but they managed to take a mellow, low tempo song and crank it down further.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, yeah, it was written by the Bee Gees. Well, I think specifically Barry Gibb, and then sung by Frankie Valli. So
Hmm,
you had those two who do really upbeat melodies, and yeah,
right. So not a great take on it.
yeah,
Now to go back to undo that pin. Oh, by the way,
yes,
we also there's also the predictable blonde bitch
yes.
bully who is going. I was the guy that she was going with Olivia's brother, or was that no, or was that the head greaser?
Um, no, I think it might have been Olivia's brother. I can't remember.
Okay,
I think it was Olivia's brother. Yeah,
there's a lot of characters
yeah,
because, of course, it's the typical thing where they're populating a whole high school.
right.
Um, Named Susan. Susan does. I think she's heavily involved in the spreading of the slut rumor.
Yeah,
And so at they have a home ec class where it's weird because the teacher goes off to get tuna for their gelatin molds, which is like a nice little 50s joke because that was actually a thing you would make.
yeah,
Um, and Susan's being awful. And so Olivia starts doing this weird song where I couldn't be sure what the objective, like, what was she doing?
I don't know.
Because on the one hand, it's like I couldn't tell if she was trying to defend Jane, to tease Jane, to make up more rumors about Jane.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
I,
It
I
was. It was.
like the objectives was unclear.
Yeah. I mean, and you know this because I messaged you when I was watching it. I was literally screaming I had my head in a pillow screaming during that whole thing, during that whole scene. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad, but it just very unclear what the actual point of the song was.
Yeah.
Like there's spectrum in musical theater about how much of a point you actually have to have with the song. Like the Crown Prince of what why was that song in there? Because Gene Kelly wanted to do a dance routine is Singing in the Rain, where they had this one called Gotta Sing Sing in the last act of the movie. That's like a 10-15 minute song and dance routine about a young boy moving to the big city to try to make his fortune that has nothing to do with anything besides like like they are performers or they're movie people, and so Gene comes in to propose this song and dance routine, and it's played out as he's describing it.
Oh god.
So like
Oh jeez.
and Singing in the Rain is an undeniable classic, so you can
Mhm.
have a good thing and be on that. Nothing the songs don't necessarily have to relate to the plot aspect of it,
Yeah.
but this one felt wonky
Yeah.
because it was like
Yeah.
it's like it's half related to it, but it didn't. So I just wanted that character through line.
Yeah. And although I will say the although after that though I had a bit that in there that I thought was funny. and
Yeah,
it was
because the weird thing is that Nancy was playing with the sewing machine, which I don't know. I'm not a sewist, a seamster, so
seamstress, yeah,
so
seamster.
it seems to me that well, a male seamstress.
Yes, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I don't think that's the proper term, but it's what I call it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
she was doing something with her sewing machine, even though the teacher was probably going to be gone at most 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to get interrupted, do you?
No.
And there's a reason because at the tail end of the dance, she gets a needle through the finger. So
Yeah, right through the middle finger. Yeah,
yeah,
she says, "I can tell everybody how I feel," and without saying a word.
yeah, probably the best line in the whole thing.
Yeah, I would agree. Yes.
So the four of them get in trouble, and but they aren't bonded quite yet because Jane is still at this point sort of the good girl, or at least she's trying to be. Oh, we're going to, I'll turn it all around at the pep rally because it's my pep rally and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and then it wasn't.
Yes, because Cynthia, the perky lesbian, uh, convinced the other members of the Greasers that it would be fun. Yeah, hey, give me my jacket if we can ruin that pep rally. And so they have this sign up there that says whatever high is going all the way,
Yeah,
which predictably the Greasers modify some. I don't know how they got up there. I forget, honestly.
yeah, I don't remember either.
Not important. But they managed to modify the sign to say Jane goes all the way.
Yeah, and Jean is thoroughly humiliated. Of course, her parents and her sister are there.
Yes, and the entire community.
Yes.
Uh, and then Cynthia and the Greasers moon the audience, but Cynthia's mask falls off, and so everyone knows it's her,
Yes.
which means no greaser jacket for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone's at a low point, except in theory, Nancy should be, aside from her middle finger being hurt and her friends being too busy dating to be fashionistas with her.
Hmm.
Nothing much bad is happening to her when you get down to, or I should say, bad things are happening to her, but they're not like reputation destroying bad things.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
They're easily overcomable obstacles.
Yeah, which is, now that I think about it, that's interesting because it kind of ties into the whole Nancy is the least important character. And so you go to you have this scene where they're doing uh, they're having the candidates for class president go up on stage, and Jane goes up to say, "I don't want to run anymore," and
Yeah.
the assistant's principal is, "I understand, dear."
Yeah. Yeah.
But then Olivia and Cynthia and Nancy come on up and nominate her, which puts her over the top to be a candidate, and then they proceed to moon the audience.
Yes. And as you pointed out, I hope they were all over the age of 18.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Although there's another kind of little funny scene there too when that happens was Olivia's brother is in the audience and he's telling everybody, "Hey, don't look, that's my sister, don't look."
Yeah. Yeah. And then so you have a song and dance routine where it's like oh yeah, we'll make our own jackets, we'll be the pink ladies, and that last song was just not very good in my opinion.
No, it wasn't.
it, the sad thing is that the best original song in the whole thing was the one where I was like, okay, but are you teasing her, are you defending her, are you just making stuff up off the top of your head to kill time until the teacher gets back? What is your objective, Olivia? The song
Yeah.
needs an objective.
Yes, the songs are supposed to add to the plot. That's how musicals work.
Yes. Uh, with the Gene Kelly exception, we'll call it. Where it's just
Right,
like,
yeah.
he's Gene effing Kelly. He's going to dance whatever he wants to dance, and you will fit it into his movie. Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh man.
Now, as far as the rest of the cast, I'd say you know, Susan, the blonde bitch, she is every blonde bitch in every high school movie you have ever seen. So nothing
Hmm.
really to talk about besides her being a vague antagonistic force.
Yes.
I would say a standout performance is Jackie Hoffman as the assistant principal.
Hmm.
She was also in Only Murders in the Building. She's a great actress. She like you could really just feel she felt like a harried educator in the back half of her career.
Yes, and I hate to use the word, but stereotypical of that period.
Yes. The other thing I'll say is she had the other great line, which is that, oh, I asked them to hire a secretary to help me out with this, but they said that they said that I already had all the skills and knowledge to perform those duties. It's nice to have the confidence of your superiors. Long
Yeah.
sigh.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's basically the plot of it. And I think what I came away with thinking was you spent too much money on this because this premise does not need to be okay. Outside of does this premise even need to be made in the first place? Like
Yeah.
who is demanding a Pink Ladies or a who's demanding a Grease cinematic universe? Nobody. That's who.
No, no.
But I think there was enough here that you could have like this could have been the first couple of acts of a straight to streaming movie, and
Hmm.
then you could have had a third act that tied up the whole election thing. You
Yeah.
you'd have to move a little bit faster with some of the elements, but and this is where having a not being tied to the fact that there were four Pink Ladies originally.
Yeah.
If you cut Nancy, you might have been able to squeeze some more time out.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, I tend to agree. I think this could have easily been like a 90-minute to 2 hour movie.
Yeah, this is the movie or this is the TV show equivalent of this meeting could have been an email.
Yeah. 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 I don't see who this was meant to appeal to,
Yeah,
other than fans of Grease, which yeah.
right. The other thing that's interesting is just how. So I think we can all agree that there were issues in the 50s.
Yes.
Um, Segregation, racism, rather prominent problems of the age.
Yeah.
Now,
Sexism. Yeah.
depending on what year this came out, and this may have predated Brown versus Board of Education, even.
Yeah. It looked like it was 53 or 54 because when
Oh,
they
did
were
that's right? They did have the
yeah at the in the at the drive-in there was a poster for War of the Worlds.
right. I think they also at the start of it said, "Welcome to the 52, 53," or uh,
Right. Yeah.
okay. So this predates Brown versus Board of Education, which forcibly desegregated the schools.
Yeah.
You would not know this based on the casting in the show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if the schools were desegregated in California. I don't think they were.
No, I mean, uh, even like they've. Some people argue the schools still aren't actually desegregated in some
Yeah.
places. So it's so having the cast be this
Diverse.
have
Yeah.
diverse, like this isn't a complaint of they changed my pink ladies hashtag not my pink ladies because again I have no relationship with the pink ladies.
Yeah, yeah, same here. I don't care.
This is one of those things where if this was a musical put on at a local high school, you don't question it because you have the subset of the school, then you have the subset of people who are in musical theater, and you have the subset of people in musical theater who want to try out for the character. So it's like, right,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
yeah.
But it kind of cuts away some of the verisimilitude of the movie itself to ignore that.
Yeah, it's very anachronistic. Yeah.
Now that could work if they weren't also interested in taking pot shots at the patriarchy or whatnot.
Right. Yeah, which I mean, you had feminism back then, at least
Hmm.
the beginnings of second wave feminism, but it wasn't that prevalent back then.
Right. Uh, So now, if this was just a fluffy movie, then that would be easier to ignore. But it's also one of those. Of course, it's also a sticky issue because well, does that mean that we just don't give roles to minority actors going forward unless we set it in the present? It is a somewhat sticky situation, but it's one of those things where you could work on it. Like, have you ever seen the musical Hairspray?
I have not.
Hairspray is worth a watch. It's also set in the 50s or possibly the early 60s.
Mm,
It's about a fat girl who loves dancing, and she wants to get onto an equivalent of the Dick Clark dance show, and it's all about her trying to get onto there. And and they also she falls in love with the black guy, and they
uh,
they acknowledge that it's going to be hard for them going forward. But
mhm.
and so that's an example of tackling issues in that era in a fun musical way,
Yeah,
because with a bunch of bangers actually.
yeah,
It- so that's what I kept mentally comparing this to, and it just kind of falls flat. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, it's one of those, I think that it could have been more successful if it was if it was a movie, if it was its own thing, and if they hadn't, like, the music wasn't bad. I feel like it was constrained by trying to sound like Grease.
yeah, yeah, and I tend, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, it could have been a lot better if, yeah, like you said, if it had just been its own thing and not tied into Greece.
Hmm.
Um, I can't really and can't really speak for the music because I don't really know much about musical stuff.
Yeah, yeah. That's my secret. Is I actually really like classic Broadway musicals.
Yeah, and me not so much. But um, but yeah, yeah, the music wasn't bad. Although I mean, judging from music, from my little knowledge of music, um, but but yeah, I think to to kind of uh what's the word, to kind of I guess address the sort of elephant in the room, as far as the political nature of the show that a lot of people seem to be glomming onto. I don't necessarily think that it was that killed the show. It just
No,
it's just kind of it is what it is, and
Eh, right. It's just kind of a stillborn concept that was never going to make anybody excited. And Paramount
yeah,
Plus having the smallest subscriber base of everybody now, which is interesting because at one point that was Peacock, but apparently uh,
yeah,
Peacock's either been doing better or they've been doing worse. I can't tell.
yeah.
Uh, this is one of those things where you wonder, okay, what if it had been on Netflix?
Hmm.
Like, would the sheer scope of Netflix have carried it? Because, uh, because just to, like, play devil's advocate for a second here,
Yeah.
if you told me the biggest show on Netflix or one of the biggest shows on Netflix is going to be a sequel to The Karate Kid from the perspective of Johnny,
Yeah.
I would say, who would possibly want to watch that? Well, you can make anything work with the right polish.
Yeah, yeah, and that show's been on what, like 5 or 6 seasons now?
Yeah,
Gee, I
but
mean, yeah,
this is that was not this show's fate.
no, I mean, it might have been a little bit more popular if it had been on Netflix, um, although I tend to think it might have gotten lost
In the sea.
in the
Yeah.
seed, yeah, because sort of like Schwarzenegger's new show, just getting kind of, like,
Yeah, I haven't heard. My friend who's the biggest Schwarzenegger fan I know had no idea that this thing had come out.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. S-
Um, yeah.
s-
So, but I mean, it's not a like I think the issues with the show is that like we said before, it's you're doing a spin-off prequel featuring four very minor characters from a popular movie from 45 years ago that nobody really asked for.
right. Now, I sympathize with the cast. Nobody did a bad job.
No, I think they did a good job. Yeah, yeah, um they did well with what they had. Yeah,
Yep. What they had wasn't the worst thing. It just being, you know what? It's like people are still going to be talking about Velma 3 years from now, probably,
yeah,
because it's a good anti-example of entertainment. This is, this is. I think I have seen a few videos going, oh, woke pink ladies canceled or pulled off of
yeah,
Paramount Plus or whatever. But I don't tend to think that that's the problem.
yeah. I don't either. I think it was just like you were saying, probably like you were saying, it was ill conceived, and it just didn't it wasn't ready for. I don't think it wasn't ready for prime time.
Nope. Uh,
Yeah,
So I'll keep an eye out for these performers if they're anything else because they can do a good job.
yeah, I agree. Well, I think we've exhausted this topic. So thank you to everybody for watching this video. We appreciate it as always. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and ring the bell. Comment down below because that always helps with the algorithm.
And if you're a Pink Lady stan and you tell us that you think we're stupid, tell us why.
Indeed. And be sure to catch us tomorrow, or I should say on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, for
Yep.
our weekly live show. And we'll see you then. Later,
Yep.
everybody.
Night, everyone.